thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. I know many of you got an invite at the last minute, and so it probably disrupted your plans. And many of the coaches and staff that are here, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I first want to say thank you, Chancellor Green. Thank you so much for expressing that confidence in me. President Carter, thank you as well. We will work as hard every single day of the week to continue to keep that confidence that you have in me and our athletic department. So thank you so very much. I love this place. Sorry about that. Didn't know that was going to happen. I love the University of Nebraska, and I learned so much as a young man. And I've told a lot of people, I've told Coach Osborne this many times, but other than my faith and my family, everything I have today, materially and otherwise, is a result of an opportunity to be a student at the University of Nebraska. And so I don't take this responsibility lightly. I will do everything I can to work as hard as I can for this place. I'm sorry I'm getting old and now I need glasses to even read my own writing, but I've got some additional thank yous that I'd like to extend. I also want to thank the search committee. I'll tell you that this time around this job, it was different for me. First of all, as was mentioned earlier by Chancellor Green, I just think the University of Nebraska today is in a sweet spot across our university in terms of leadership. Having President Carter leading this ship, Chancellor Green, Chancellor Lee, who's taking over at UNO, who is going to be a dynamo, Chancellor Christensen at UNK, and of course Dr. Gold at UNMC. It's a leadership group that I could believe in and certainly am willing to follow. But what was also different was I had a chance to look at the priorities that the search committee had worked on. And it was interesting that my interest in applying for and pursuing this job changed dramatically when I saw what was important to the culture of this athletic department, because it's exactly what I believe in. It's exactly what I lived. And so I want to thank the search committee for their efforts. I want to thank the Board of Regents. We've got a great board that cares deeply about Husker athletics, the University of Nebraska. Thank you for your support as well. I want to thank Bill Moos. I'll tell you, I was in preparation for looking at this job, looking at the coaching staff that's been assembled, looking at the executive team and everybody that works in this athletic department. It's sort of remarkable. We have a group of some of the greatest leaders, men and women, at the highest peak of their profession that are part of Husker athletics. And it's just so encouraging to me to be able to have an opportunity to work alongside people with such ability that I can learn from and I can grow from, and together we can do some amazing things. I want to thank Garrett Classy as well. You know, Garrett, I'll tell you, it's a tough job. You did a great job. It's tough to keep the ship going, and I'm really going to be depending on you and looking forward to your leadership and helping us as we move forward. So thank you, Garrett. I appreciate that very much. I want to thank John Christensen, my former boss at UNO, for being crazy enough to hire me in 2009 and getting me to the University of Nebraska. The last 12 years has been a dream for me. So I want to thank John. I want to thank Chancellor Jeffrey Gold. I learned a lot from Dr. Gold. I learned a lot about his leadership style, and he was obviously a great advocate as well. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my colleagues at UNO. You know, we spent a long time together, and I can tell you that I would have never left UNO for any other job but this one. I loved working at the University of Nebraska, and so I can just tell you there's a group of unified Mavericks that are working extraordinarily hard in serving young people and staying true. So the best days of UNO's athletic department are still ahead, and so I want to recognize them. Just a couple of introductions I'd like to make quickly, and then I've just got a few comments. I won't ramble too long, but I just want to introduce my sister Tammy is here. She's from Iowa. She's a school teacher in Iowa. She's 3 years younger than me, so thank you for being here, Tammy. I have an older brother, Troy. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us. So here's my dad, Ken, and his wife, Maggie. Thank you guys for coming. There's somebody who's not here physically, but I know she's here. It's my late mother, Linda. I didn't know I'd be this emotional. I really apologize about that. Nobody was a bigger Husker fan than Linda Alberts. Also want to introduce my family. So our son, Chase, couldn't be here. He graduated from West Point, and he started his service at Fort Stewart in Savannah, Georgia. He's in the United States Army, and of course, he would love to be here. Our middle daughter, Ashton, just graduated with an accounting degree. She's actually at Ernst & Young doing an internship in Atlanta, so I wish she could be here as well. This is our youngest daughter, Brianna. She'll be a senior in high school next year, and so thankfully that she can be here. And of course, my lovely wife, Angela, my partner for 25 years, who's been by my side and provided great counsel. It wasn't always her idea to take these journeys, so thank you for doing that. So I thought what I would do quickly is just share 4 thoughts, and I'll tell you how I kind of got to this point. So as part of the interview process with Chancellor Green, he asked me a question which I thought was a really good question, and I thought I would share with you what I recall my answer was. Maybe it's not verbatim. But he asked me, he said, you know, Trev, in 2 to 3 years, what would be some of the goals that you would hope that would have been accomplished in the athletic department under your leadership? And so I thought about that a little bit, and you know, I want you to know that, first of all, we're not going to plow any new ground here, right? This isn't going to be real profound. But I also want to be very careful when I say these 4 things. I don't at all want to imply or infer that these things aren't currently happening within the University of Nebraska Athletic Department and our athletic programs, okay? But I think these 4 things will help you understand what's really important to me. I think the most important thing that I've learned in my leadership journey is the importance of trust. Most important thing, whether it's an athletic department, whether it's a team, whether it's church, any business, any organization, it is built on trust and the importance of building that trust. And so within the next 2 or 3 years, I've got to earn the trust of our student athletes. That's really important. I always remind myself and everybody on the staff that nobody here would have a job if it wasn't for student athletes. They're our focus. And we're going to work every day to help them be successful, just like some in this room did for me for 4 years back in the early 90s. So we're going to earn the trust of our student athletes. We have to earn the trust of our coaches and staff. Really, really important. We need to invest in it. We need to trust each other. We need to be able to have healthy tension, and we need to know that we're on each other's side. We got to earn and continue to earn the trust of the academic side of the house. It's really, really important. And I learned that lesson at UNO. We are not an independent unit. We are the brand equity of the institution, and the athletics department is an important tool to help advance the University of Nebraska as an institution. So work really hard to have great relationships with the academic side of the house, professors and deans. And finally, and really important, we've got to make sure that we've earned the trust and credibility of our fans and donors. It's the thing that's the most amazing thing to me. We are blessed with an opportunity and privilege that none of us probably understand. But Husker Nation and the fans that call this place home are really special, and we can never take that for granted. And we have an opportunity with donors and business leaders in this state that care so much about this institution. And so we'll work hard to engender their trust and support. Secondly, I think the other thing that I told Chancellor Green that would be a real goal for mine is we're going to establish the proper work habits. You know, in my last 12 years, I've had just such a privilege to be able to watch businessmen and businesswomen leaders in our community and our state who have accomplished unbelievable things. They've built companies. They're changing the world. And each one of these leaders, as I've observed them, you know, have different characteristics. They have different attributes, right? They're all a little bit different. But there's one thing that every single one of them has, and they're extraordinarily hard workers. Nothing ever happens by happenstance. And so we have to be the hardest working athletic department in the country. That's something we can control. And I know that that's something that you all care about as well. I want you to know that we're going to make mistakes, and I'm going to make mistakes. But we will work as hard as we can. We'll be transparent, we'll acknowledge them, and we'll fix them. Third is we're going to establish teamwork, and this is really important to me. one of the most importantly things. We're going to have clearly defined roles, and we will always do what's in the best interest of Nebraska. We just simply cannot afford to allow anybody to put their own personal agenda ahead of what's in the best interest for Nebraska. So every recommendation, every decision that we make, or what I recommend to Chancellor Green, will be, the question is this in the best long-term interest of the University of Nebraska? Secondly, as part of that teamwork, is we're going to value each member of our team. We're going to create an organization that respects one another. Doesn't matter who you are. Every single person in this athletic department will have a very critical role, and we cannot be successful if every single person isn't operating at an elite level, right? And so that's going to be really, really important, and we're going to value and respect every one of those members. Another part of teamwork is unity of purpose, something I believe in so strongly. I've watched organizations with tremendous talent accomplish very, very little. And then I've watched some organization with some marginal talent, because they were unified, change the world. We're going to be an athletic department that's unified. And we're going to have a unity of purpose. And we're going to bring people together and bring our state together and bring our fans and donors together for something bigger than ourselves, because that's when it's really fun, right? Finally, what's important to me as well is in 2 to 3 years, and I know we have a lot of programs that are already this way, but let it be said of the Husker Athletic Department that this place is reflective of Nebraskans and the way Nebraskans live their life. That's really, really important to me. Because think about what Nebraskans and our alumni all across the country represent. They're tough, right? They're really hardworking people. They do the right things all the time. They do it the right way. They don't ever make excuses. Rarely do you hear Nebraskans make excuses. And most importantly, they never, ever, ever quit, right? They stay together. And so we're just going to work on continuing to have championship habits. And so I think if you just focus on those fundamental things, those attention to detail things, and we as a organization are unified with a unified vision, and then by the way, at the end, we're going to have a little bit of fun. At the end of the day, we're in athletics, right? We got to have some fun. And so I'm just excited. I can't wait to get to work with our talented staff of coaches and staff, and I'm just so incredibly honored to be here. And I think at this point we're going to open it up for questions, and I think both Chancellor Green and President Carter will be available as well.
Media, just raise your hand. We've got 2 microphones, and we'll get it to you. Congratulations, Trev.
Thank you, Steve.
I was wondering, what is it, or what are a few things about your experience at UNO that maybe helped you prepare for this job or get you prepared for this job?
Well, that's a great question, Steve. I mean, first and foremost, the UNO job was a tough job. There were some pretty incredible challenges, and I think what it really forced was, for us as a staff, it galvanized, it sort of forced a sense of unity of purpose, in that in order to overcome some of those challenges, that was a requirement. I think the other thing that was really important is, very early on, I recognized how significant the challenge was and that I needed help. And we were unafraid to go out and ask for help. One of the most remarkable things about the state of Nebraska is this is a place that cares deeply about public education, and they care deeply about the University of Nebraska, and they're willing to help. You have to be humble enough to ask for it, and you have to listen. And so I had an opportunity to work with, as I mentioned earlier, some of the most amazing men and women business leaders in Omaha and the state of Nebraska. And their mentorship, we worked through very complex financial challenges, and frankly was given a master's degree in business over a 12-year period that I could never repay them for. So I think some of the, college athletics is about relationships, right? And so relationships are really important, and I think a little bit of a head start in the sense of some of those established relationships that'll be really important for us here to continue making the progress that we want.
Hey, Trev. In the decade of the 12 years that you've had the job at UNO, you've stayed pretty conspicuously above the fray of talking about Nebraska football. There's been a lot of voices, especially a lot of ex-Husker voices that have talked a lot. You have not. You've kind of stayed away from that. I'm curious as to why you thought it was important to not weigh in often, but now you run the department. And so I'm curious what you've thought of the program over the last 10 to 12 years, and also why you're deciding to come home now.
Thank you, Sam. And I was remiss, Steve, prior to your question. I want to apologize to some of the members of the media. I'm very accessible. A lot of you reached out to me. I didn't respond. That won't happen again, but I hope you understand why. For the last 12 years, I worked at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. It was really important to me that staff and those student athletes knew that I was all in for the Mavericks, right? And so I learned very early on, don't think that I wasn't very interested in what was happening within Husker Athletics and wasn't paying attention. But it was really important to me that I be very present and that those student athletes knew that I cared very deeply about their success. So that was part of it. Secondly, I know how hard these jobs are. Sitting in judgment of other people. There's an awful lot of things that happen behind the scenes that not everybody's aware of, right? For obvious reasons. And so I would never judge leadership or questions of other folks because, frankly, it happened to me, and but that's okay. So, I'm not sure if I answered your question, Sam.
Now that you're in charge of the department, what do you think of what's happened with Nebraska football in the last decade?
Well, I mean, certainly we haven't achieved at the level that we all hope to attain, right? But I believe strongly in Scott Frost's leadership and the coaches that we have in the staff. I am really looking forward to diving in with Scott. The first thing I got to do, and not just Scott, Will and Fred and Amy and every one of our coaches. That's why I talked about earning trust. Listen, you got to earn the trust, and you got to dive in. I want to be helpful. I want to be helpful. I will never call a play. I don't tell coaches who to recruit. But I think bigger picture, some of the culture things, I think I can be helpful. But I'm really excited about the future of Husker football and the rest of our sports, Sam.
Media, if you would, just say your name before you ask the question.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Congrats, Trev.
Thank you, Mitch.
Speaking with Coach Osborne when you came off the elevator, what were the emotions like for you then and in any other conversations you've had with him about this? And have you talked to Coach Frost? And you mentioned looking forward to working with him. What about him do you know, and are you looking forward to working with?
Sure. Coach Osborne is a dear friend and a mentor. We've kept in regular contact over the years, and he was kind enough way back in 2009 to try to help me. I think he probably was like, "What is this guy doing?" So it was wonderful. But I like to watch people and listen. And obviously, Coach Osborne is an authentic leader. That's what I think you also have with our other leaders. They're authentic. They are who they purport to be. And I really appreciate that about him. And so, as I said earlier, it's really emotional for me. Like I said, I grew up in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and I never dreamed that a place like this would offer me a scholarship and change my life. So that's that perspective. I have talked to Scott, and I didn't play at the same time as Scott, so I don't have the same relationship that perhaps Matt and some others have, but I'm well aware of who Scott is, what he's accomplished, and like I said, I believe in Scott, and I want to be helpful, and I can't wait to do that. But first, I have to earn his trust, and I'll do that.
Trev, Sean Callahan, Husker Online. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sean.
My question is, 12 years ago, you were on TV on ESPN every day, and then you went to becoming an administrator. I mean, what drove you to become an administrator? I mean, that you don't see a move like that happen very often, and were there times when you did it, you were like, man, this is a lot harder than I thought, and is this the path you thought you'd head on by becoming UNL's athletic director 12 years ago?
Not at all. had no inclination. To be totally honest with you, I had no idea as a student athlete just how hard so many people were working behind the scenes to help me be successful until I became the athletic director at UNO, which has motivated me even more to continue in that. But, you know, it was really Coach Osborne. He made a statement to me, quite frankly, after 11, 12 years in broadcasting, traveling, you know, being gone from Wednesday to Sunday night, being in 3 different cities in 3 days. It took a toll on our family. Our children were much smaller, and it's pretty tough when your 3rd grade daughter says, "Why isn't Dad ever coming to our games?" Right? That's not how I was raised. So that was part of it, but there was a comment that Coach Osborne made to me that I never forgot. And he said, in my experience, a life of service will be far more rewarding and fulfilling in the end.
Congratulations. Erin Sorensen with Hail Varsity. As you step into this role, you actually have 2 big hires, one being the Diversity Inclusion Director, the other the Deputy AD for Senior Women Administrator. You also have this Minority Student Athlete Collective, which is growing, and Taylor Johnson was one of the athletes that helped with your search. How do you plan to evaluate this area and continue to move Nebraska forward when you look at those 2 big hires and also making sure that that group grows?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to be, you know, real frank with you, I haven't spent a lot of time at this point. I'm aware of the openings, and my understanding is there's a significant amount of interest, not only locally but nationally, and I think we're going to be able to identify some tremendous candidates who can really help us. You know, I'll speak a little bit about diversity and inclusion, okay? And I think it's really part of what I talked about earlier in terms of respecting everybody on our staff. It's really important to me. It's also really important to me that we have coaching staffs and we have an administration that's reflective of what our student athlete population looks like. We need to be a place that when our student athletes come, they're comfortable, and there are people that perhaps look like them and think like them that can support them and help them. And this will be a department that is absolutely committed and dedicated to those areas of interest.
Hey, Trev, congratulations. Brian Christofferson with Husker 24/7. What do you see as a few of the keys of dealing with the shifting landscape in college athletics where we don't know exactly where it's going with the NIL movement and all that stuff? I mean, what's sort of your outline going into that?
Sure. A lot of moving parts, right? Everybody's looking for very specific, you know, we're all competitive people, right? Define the rules, we'll find a way to be successful, we'll outwork you, and we'll win. The problem is we've got shifting goalposts often, right? Not clear direction, not clear guardrails. So I think what's really important here is it goes back to the unity of purpose. There's no possible way that one person is going to be able to, him or herself, navigate through this. We've got an incredible staff of leaders, many of whom are deep and have dove deep into this issue. And so we're going to do it together. But the most important thing as well is, you know, I've been in 2 different conferences for the last 12 years, right? Half of the athletic directors, it's very obvious, want to hang on to the past. Let's be honest, this is a very uncomfortable time for administrators in college athletics. The key is we're going to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, this is about the student athletes. We're going to support their opportunity to monetize their name, image, and likeness. And there's a whole lot more, right? I mean, the reality is the ruling in the Alston case has left open quite a few other questions. I mean, has the court indicated some, you know, desire to take a harder look at some of these other issues? And so we will be prepared as a university and as an athletic department to have a strategy that best helps our student athletes be successful. That's everything what Nebraska's always been about. That's why we lead the nation in academic All-Americans. It's a group of people working every day to help young people be successful. It's not just in the area of competition. We're going to win at everything. That's what Nebraska does. And so a lot of work to do. I'm not giving you specifics to that answer other than, and part of it is I need to learn exactly where we are here. I know Garrett's done a really great job in trying to get ahead of that. I think a lot of it has to do with, with relationships as well. Those are going to be really important with our corporate donors and with our sponsors, and bringing people in our state together and recognizing how all of us are going to have to participate in this to help make sure that our coaches and student athletes have every competitive advantage we possibly need to be successful in competition.
Let's take one more up front for Trev, and then we'll have Chancellor Green and President Carter take a couple questions if there is.
Trev, hi. I'm Steve Glenn. I'm here today on behalf of the Husker Football Letterman's Association. Our president, George Achola, couldn't be here today, but he wanted me to express how excited we as former players are. You have our 100% support. We are excited that you're here. There are 1,450 former players, and they are all behind you and are sure that you will succeed. We'd also like to thank the Chancellor Green, for including former players in the selection process. We love this place. We want to make sure that you're successful, this university is successful. Congratulations and welcome home.
Steve, thank you. And I want you to know, I know George well. It goes back to unity of purpose. We cannot become what we all aspire to be without the former players. It has to be all in. We need you, and we will embrace the former players, not just in football, in every sport. We always say, once a Husker, always a Husker. And so we're going to look for ways, to partner with you guys. We're going to need your help. Again, it's an all hands on deck kind of deal. If we want to get this place where we all want it to be, it won't be about Trev Alberts. It'll be about Nebraskans coming together to be part of something bigger than themselves, because it matters. You know what? As you know, Steve, I know it matters, doesn't it? And I'm just honored to get to be a little part of it. And I'm absolutely committed to working with you guys and making sure you feel a part of the team. I know that hasn't always been the case here, and we'll work hard to make sure that's the case.